Okay, let's talk quickly about this case, X and Twitter. 2017 case. It's X, like clearly it's not some pop star previously known as YZ. X is basically used to show that the plaintiff in this particular matter an order was granted to let them remain anonymous. And essentially in this case, X was an anonymous partnership, and it was plagued by presumably a former employee who was disgruntled and became a troll. This employee basically adopted a name that was similar to, it may have even been the same as the CEO of the partnership, and started leaking financial information about the partnership, basically trolling them, saying terrible things. I believe that they included accusations of homophobia and racism as well. It was just a purely nasty piece of work. The plaintiff took some action very, very quickly and basically complained to Twitter. Twitter said yes, they would take down the offending tweets, but they wouldn't agree to provide any information about who the troller was. And X, or the partnership, wanted that information because they wanted to know whether somebody was revealing confidential information in breach of an employment or a confidentiality agreement, so they could take further action, and so they could take action directly to stop the conduct. But Twitter refused to do that because of its privacy provisions, and it said it had a contractual relationship with the users, that it wouldn't produce that private information, but also it basically didn't want to get involved in these proceedings. It didn't ever attend court. It sent some emails essentially saying, yeah, look, we're a big company, we're all over the world, we can't keep just dealing with all of these issues. A little bit like the quote that I opened up with back from Yahoo 20 odd years before, when Yahoo was saying, look, we can't just wake up every morning and work out what laws we're dealing with today. So basically the X, or this partnership, took Twitter and its parent company, so the US company and the Irish company, to court. And this case really deals with this really familiar problem. How can private individuals have content removed from the global internet through domestic courts? So ultimately the issue in the case, what's interesting here, is that the court had to decide whether or not it had jurisdiction to make orders against Twitter, particularly as Twitter hadn't shown up to the proceedings. It looked at a Canadian decision, Google and Equistech, where the Court of Appeal for British Columbia found that Google had carried on business in Canada, even though it didn't necessarily have a representative office there, because it provided services there, it had held data there, it provided search archives, and it basically got revenue from its AdWords business. So it found that the court had jurisdiction as a natural consequence of the global scale of Google's business. And so basically the Australian court took that into account, along with a range of other factors, and ultimately came up with these very broad orders that really had a global reach. So I'd like you to try and have a look at this decision. I'd like you to have a go at reading it as a case, and we'll talk about it in the tutorial when we meet together. But I think you'll find it interesting, but I also think it'll be a good challenge for those of you who are not used to reading case law. So a link to the case will be with this video and with the what's it called? The podcast version, and I look forward to discussing with you. One more video after this and you'll be done. Cheers.